Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a really tough one, the incredibly complex and disturbing saga of Jeffrey Epstein. It's a story about huge wealth, hidden crimes, and a web of powerful people that, to this day, leaves us with so many questions.
So where do you even begin with a story this big? Well, we're actually going to start at the end, because the mystery around Epstein's death is what still fuels so much speculation all over the world.
So picture this. August 10th, 2019. Jeffrey Epstein is in one of the most secure federal jails in New York, waiting for his trial on sex trafficking charges. And then, he's found dead in his cell. The official story was suicide. But for a lot of people, that story just didn't add up. Now this is where it gets really, really strange. You have this perfect storm of security failures. I mean, come on, jail cameras just happen to be malfunctioning, the guards fall asleep, and he's taken off suicide watch right before he dies? All of this together fueled this widespread belief that maybe he didn't kill himself, that maybe he was silenced to protect the secrets of some very powerful people. So how in the world did we get to that jail cell? To really get it, we've got to go back and look at who Jeffrey Epstein actually was and the shadowy empire he managed to build. He went from being a math teacher to a Wall Street titan, but believe me, that is only the tip of the iceberg.
On the one hand, Epstein built this incredible public image. He was seen as this financial whiz-kid, a genius who managed money for billionaires. But underneath all that, well, it was a house of cards, hiding something truly horrific. He was operating a sophisticated and monstrous criminal enterprise.
And right at the heart of his whole criminal world was this place, Little St. James Island. To the public, it was this luxury Caribbean getaway, a paradise. But in reality, it was the secluded hub of his trafficking network, which is how it got that infamous nickname, Epstein Island. And the island itself was basically a fortress of secrets. We're talking cameras blanketing the entire place, and there are even reports of underground tunnels. It just makes you wonder, right? Was all of that for security, or was it for something much, much darker, like blackmail?
Now, a key thing to understand is that Epstein did not do this alone, not by a long shot. A huge part of his power came from the absolutely insane web of influence he spun around himself, connecting with some of the most famous and powerful people on the planet.
And maybe nothing symbolized this web more than his private jet. This was the plane he used to fly all his powerful friends to his homes and to his island. The media gave it a really chilling nickname that, well, it kind of tells you everything you need to know about what people suspected was going on.
And when you start looking at the flight logs and the court documents, the list of names is just staggering. We're talking former U.S. presidents, British royalty, titans of business, Hollywood celebrities. This wasn't just some social club. It was a network of global power.
So when the FBI raided his home and found all these CDs and photos, you can imagine the speculation just exploded. It led so many people to one very chilling conclusion: these relationships probably weren't just social. The running theory is that he was collecting dirt on his guests, using blackmail as a kind of insurance policy.
You know, for years, despite the awful things he was accused of, the justice system just failed. It completely failed to hold him accountable. His first real run-in with the law ended in what a lot of people call one of the biggest travesties of justice in American history.
And this timeline, wow, it just shows you what an incredibly long and difficult road this has been. It all started way back in 2005 with the courage of just one victim, Courtney Wild. But then, the whole thing gets derailed by this secret sweetheart plea deal, a deal that basically let him and all his co-conspirators off the hook. It took a decade and some amazing investigative journalism to finally blow the whole thing open again.
13 months. Just let that sink in. That's the actual jail time Epstein served for that first deal. And get this, it wasn't even hard time. He had this VIP setup that allowed him to leave the jail for up to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, to go to his office. It's just unbelievable.
But here's a major part of the story. While Epstein himself managed to escape his final trial, his primary partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, was finally brought to justice. And let's be clear, survivors and prosecutors didn't just see her as some sidekick. They described her as the mastermind of the entire operation who recruited and groomed the young girls.
And this number, 20 years, that's the prison sentence Ghislaine Maxwell received for her central role in the trafficking ring. Her conviction and this sentence really stand in stark contrast to that slap on the wrist Epstein got years earlier. It was a huge, if incomplete, moment of accountability.
Okay, so even though Epstein is gone, this story is nowhere near finished.
The slow, ongoing release of documents, the so-called Epstein files, continues to send fresh shockwaves around the globe every time more are unsealed. Now, in the aftermath of his death, a compensation fund was set up from his estate. And look, obviously no amount of money can ever undo the horrific trauma his victims endured. But this fund represented a formal financial acknowledgement of their suffering and the crimes that were committed against them.
And that brings us right up to today. There's an ongoing battle over this huge trove of documents, potentially over 1 million pages that are still sealed. And it leaves us with this one massive hanging question. Is the delay in releasing all of these files really about protecting the privacy of victims, or is it about shielding powerful names that have yet to be revealed?
You know, when you boil it all down, the Epstein saga is a chilling, unforgettable reminder of how extreme wealth and influence can be used to bend and even break the justice system. But, and this is the important part, it also shows that no matter how long it takes, the truth has a way of fighting its way into the light. The story is not over, and you can be sure the world is still watching.